So how to create a single page dashboard using option sets and custom states for better user experience. This is AB Moody. I'm a professional mobile developer from AngelFX, and in this video, I will show you a quick and easy way to establish a single page dashboard that will have a menu on the left and all the content that might be presented based on the options that are selected on the right side of the app. So let's go ahead and create a new page for the dashboard. I'm just going to call it dashboard. And let's just create a brand new page. So here's the page. Let's do a layout column. And again, this will allow us to stack things on top of each other. The height I'd like to keep it at 850. We don't want that, but let's just do it 850 here. There we go. And 1080 is fine, so we can work with that. Or actually, you know what? I'll make it 1100. There we go. Okay, so now that we have our page layout been established, let's go ahead and build menu options on the left. So what I like to do for the menu options is to use a option sets, right? Let's say we want to build a dashboard that is going to be for CRM system. So we're just going to call it CRM dashboard menu. And I like to put it as OS so that we know it's an option set. So let's say first thing we can say context. The other one is messages. Let's just say third one is help. And the third one we can say emails, right? So these are the four options we want to represent on the left side. So now that we have option sets established here, let's go ahead and enter a group that's going to remain on the left side. Now that group is going to be, let's just call it side menu. Of course, we want this to be a column so we can stack things on top of each other. I'm going to expand this so that it can stretch out across the height of the page. And let's make this, well, 280 is fine. Perhaps we can do it 260. That looks better. All right, and let's make the type of content CRM dashboard menu. And now that that's in there, in order for us to show the menu options, what we like to do is use repeating groups, because with repeating groups, you can show all those dynamic value from the option sets. So let's go ahead and drop a repeating group down here. Let's make sure this is at 260 so it can fit within this container. I meant group. And the appearance of the type of content is going to be dashboard, and the data source, we don't have to define that at this point. And let's go ahead and make this, well, we can use it as a row, as it's going to be a text. And let's go ahead and enter text here, and that is going to be a dynamic value, so we're just going to call it current sales display option. All right, so let's see how this looks in a preview. All right, well, nothing's been displayed on the preview, and reason being, we of course have to select the data source. So now that we selected the data source, there it is. Here are the options. Now, of course, we want this to look cleaner, dashboard options where, you know, it kind of shows as a button and actionable items. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of a margin on the top so that it can come down a little bit. And let's make sure that this is centered. There we go. And from the appearance standpoints, we don't want to set a fixed number of rows, as we want this to be unlimited scrolling. And then also let's make sure that the minimum height is close to the text container height, which is 45. So we'll just make this minimum height 45. There we go. All right, and also let's remove the standard styling, make it none. So there we go. So we separate this borders in between. So that's been separated, and let's preview. All right, there it is. Here are the options. Again, the borders are still there, so why don't we go ahead and remove that as well. Let's make it none. Actually, you know what? It kind of looked nice having this different lines, so we know that there's a separation between the options here, right? So what I'll do is I'm gonna make the minimum appearance height to be 50 so that there is enough space in between. And from the layout standpoint on this one, let's center it. There we go. And let's just add the separator line colors to be solid. Yeah, that should do it. Let's see now. There we go. All right, so now we have the menu. Now the way we want to do things is we want to represent a data that might fall within this category. It's kind of like it shows that as pages are changing when you click on different options, right? But in reality, it's a single page and it's not a page that changes. So how do we configure that? So now that we have menus on the left, I think there's one more thing we need to do. In the text side, let's make this center text vertically so that this aligned in the center with equal proportions. There we go. All right. Okay, so now that we have those 4 options, let's create 4 different groups that represents each of these menu items. So first, let's create a group called, what was the first item? Context. So let's create a group called context. Now, of course, we want this to be presented on the right side. So what we can do is we can take this group side menu and group contact together, and then we can group them in a row container so it can go side by side. Now, of course, we want this to be on the left and that needs to be right. The easier way to do that is go into the layout, and let's go ahead and move this and make this first. So this goes on the side. And of course, we don't want this width to be hard content, so it gets stretched out. Let's make sure. Okay, so that group C, which we're going to call group main, which is where the side menu. And let's make this, let's keep this group context. And we do want this to be column, so I'm going to change that to the column. And let's see. All right, so here are the changes I just made. It's basically making this a minimum height of 850, which is our height of the minimum height of the page itself. So we just made the group side menu to 850 as well as the group context to be 850 so that they can align together. Let's also add a border, like a divider in between. So what we can do is we can take the group side menu and we can add a separate border. So we can click on define each border independently. And then on the border style right, we're going to make it solid. And let's see the color it's been used on that. Okay, and I like to use the same color for a separator as well. Let's go ahead and change that color. Now let's see how that looks. Perfect, that's exactly what we want. We do want the line to be on the top and on the bottom, so I think it kind of makes sense to, let's see if we can reduce the layout height to perhaps 300. We can add a border to match. Let's see if this is going to add. Yep, that's good. But of course, there's more space here. And the reason being, we still have the minimum height of this container larger than the sum of all the 4 items. So I'll just do it as 100. And as you can see, it kind of shrinks down because we have this set to fit the height content. So it's going to take either the minimum height or the minimum height of the overall content that adds up. I hope that makes sense. If not, leave a comment and I'll be happy to clarify it with a separate video. Okay, so now that we have that laid out and we have a group on the side, this is group context. Let's go ahead and create another duplicate group. And let's call this group, I think, so what were the options? Messages. So let's just call this group messages. And then we're going to create another group and we're going to call this group emails. And then let's have another group and that's going to be group help. So now that we have 4 groups, you'll be able to see them over here. Now we don't want them to be visible on the page load. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure they collapse when hidden. And let's add some default animation, which is like, let's say it has a transition of left and right. So we do that and then we uncheck that so that by default, the group contact is not visible. I'm going to do the same thing with messages. I'm going to collapse, hide. Let's make transition left, right. And then of course the emails. Let's go ahead and do the emails. And that's going to be left to right. And the group help. Perfect. Okay, now that we have all our groups with a conditions, with the transitions and animations in place, let's tie the conditions around it. So this is where now we're going to use a custom state that is going to trigger each group set. Let's also color code them so we know which group is what, and we'll add a text to it. So let's make a background color for context. Just gonna add a little variant of a blue, just like this blue right here. And I'm just gonna drop a text here. Let's just make this a heading 1. Gonna remove the fixed width, and let's just call it context. All right, and also I'm just gonna copy this element here. And I'm going to paste that into group message. I love the functionality of copy and paste. It just makes life a lot easier and makes programming much faster with Bubble. Let's do the same. We're going to add some background color here. So we're going to detach the style. Let's select the flat color. And this color is going to be, let's just add a variant of a green. Perhaps this one right here. And then again, let's copy that. Add that to the email, change this to group emails. And you'll notice that when you update the name here, it automatically updates the name of the element itself. So that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and set group email color to be, we'll do a variant of orange, slight orange. There we go. Again, copy. And let's go ahead and do the same for the group help. So let's use help. All right. And detach flat color. And let's make this a variant of red. That's too bright, so we're going to make it lighter red. There. Okay, so now that we have all those set, of course, when you're in a preview, nothing is going to show up because all those groups are hidden at this point by default. Also, what we want is the condition where these things are hovering when it highlights when we hover so we know which option we're about to click. So let's go ahead and set that condition. But before I do that, let me go ahead and update its layout to kind of stretch out across the board. And let's add some padding so that, like right now, if you don't add the padding, what's going to happen, it's going to go all the way to the edges, right? It doesn't look good from the UI standpoint. So we're going to add a padding on the left. Let's add 50. Well, 50 is perhaps too much. Let's just do 20. And then right is going to be 20 as well. Perfect. And so now if you look at it, it will look a little pushed in by 20 pixels. Okay, and we can add the condition on the text element where we can say condition when this text is hovered. We're going to say background style. Let's make it flat color. And the background flat color, I'm sorry, not the font color, the background color is going to be, I'm going to make it darker blue. And then, yeah, let's make a darker blue with a font color as a white, so it's easy to read. And we can also increase the font size, or we can make it bold. There we go. There it is. Like this to avoid confusions. There we go. Okay, so let's see how that works. There it is. Now we can see that what we're about to click. Okay, so now that that's in place, let's go ahead and set up those conditions. So the way I would do things here is, one, we're going to set a condition using workflow, and let me explain what I mean by that. First of all, we have to set a custom state, and I like to set the custom state at the page level, the page's dashboard, so that it's easy to view all the custom states all at once. But let's go ahead and set a custom state here. So we go to the dashboard page, we click on this eye icon, and we can create custom state or add new custom state from here. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it, you can just do it directly from the workflow. And I like to do it from the workflow because, I don't know, makes things easier. So let's go ahead and do that. So I go here and I go into the element action and set state. So at this point, there is no state set, which now gives you an option to create a new state. So let's create a new state, and we're going to call it a dashboard view. Now, I would set that dashboard view type as option set so that I can bring in that dynamic value, and based on that view, we can show different groups, right? So let's go ahead and set that type to the dashboard menu. And once that's been established, now all you have to do is, we're adding a dynamic value. So we're just saying current sales CRM dashboard menu OS, right? So what we're doing here is, now we're telling Bubble that whatever that group is that I'm clicking right now from the repeating group, let's just add that value into the custom state. So just one simple workflow. And what we're doing here for the group, let's start with the context. Now we're going to add a condition here, and we're going to say when a dashboard view is context, this element is visible. Simple as it gets, right? So we're just saying the moment the dashboard view custom state becomes context, just show this, right? And what I like to do is just copy this condition and go to the messages and then just paste. And all we have to do is just change this to message. Simple as it gets. So let's go to the emails, paste, and that's email. Help, same thing, we go. And there it is, okay? So now that you have set all those conditions and the workflow is done, that's it. One simple workflow, one action step, and now let's see the magic happen. So now that it's refresh, if you click context, context shows up. If you click message, message shows up, help, email. So that's the power of Bubble, and I mean, that's the power of custom states and option sets within Bubble that allows you to build this such a dynamic dashboard with just one workflow, just one step and one workflow, and it does the magic. So I hope this video helps, and if you have any question, please leave a comment down below. Again, this is for professional Bubble developers, so if you are looking for a knowledge to learn Bubble at the basic level, I would highly recommend going to the Bubble documentation. They have a lot of videos explaining the foundations of Bubble. So hope this helps, and thank you.